Hello. Thanks for taking the time to watch this. Today, my reflection is entitled "It's All in the Family." It's all in the family. We don't exist as entirely independent individuals, do we? We don't. Our lives are enmeshed within the lives of those who are closest to us, particularly those of our own flesh and blood. Flesh of my flesh and bone of my bone, those words from the book of Genesis refer not only to Adam and Eve, they most certainly refer to my family and your family, who are indeed bone of our bone and flesh of our flesh. As families, we are connected to one another in ways that are far deeper than we usually contemplate. I see my father in me so often. I am my father's son, and despite the fact that we live in different countries, I see his face in the mirror every morning. I hear his voice coming out of my mouth. And many of the challenges that I faced in life are challenges that he faced long before I ever did. And so I bear my family within me in some sense. Not that I can quite explain it, but I know that when I pray for them and remember them and bear them up, that my prayers are not without benefit. I have a history, and I offer it up to God with all that I am, which is why I think prayer is super, super important. The prayers of parents are the foundations of a home. Really, the prayers of a mother and a father are the foundations of a home. And parents should never stop praying. Daily prayers for your children, for their spouses and your grandchildren is time well spent, because prayer is going to help shape character in their lives. And that's what God is interested in, what kind of character we are carrying. And so if you're a parent, you will do well to put some effort into godly living and raising your children in godliness, because character is something that we acquire over time. On one level, character represents a habitual way of behaving and reacting. Character is an instinct that matures to help a person, withstand the pressure and the tension of all kinds of conditions in the journey of life. But on another level, character is the human stuff that is transformed into the divine nature, Christ likeness, right, in the journey of salvation. Now, as a pastor, I often talk about living a Christ-like life. And it's interesting to me because a lot of people mistakenly think that a Christ-like life is just about living a highly moralistic life. And so when they think like that, it's no surprise to me that when parents tell their children to be like Jesus, it holds absolutely no attraction for those children. It seems completely boring to them, because children need to see something to make it real. Telling your child to be like Jesus is not going to build character. This is what St. Paul said in Philippians 3:17. Paul said, "Join in imitating me." And then he said, "And keep your eyes on those who walk according to the example you have in us." Right? And that's what Christ-likeness is all about. An essential question in character formation is who do you admire? Or rather, who do your children admire? You see, children are copycats. That's what they are. They're copycats. They're supposed to be copycats. When they play at being something, or they play at being someone. It's how they learn. So parents, if you want your child to pray, they should see you pray. If you want your children to love God, they need to see you loving God. If you want your child to be able to ask for forgiveness, they need to see you do it first. Christian parenting is a joy. And being able to partner with God in character formation is the most wonderful thing. Christian parenting is not about moralistic conditioning. We don't shame our children to make them behave. Shaming never accomplishes its intention. And it can take a child into really dark places from which they might not return. You can lose your child there. Nonetheless, none of us, I know, does parenting perfectly. But we should not expect our children to become greater Christians than the ones that they've seen in our lives. Because in general, our children are going to turn out to be mostly like us, for good or bad. So be the person you want your child to become. I see a lot of my father in myself. I'm not the same man, but I am like him. We are all later versions of an earlier model. And in biblical terms, if you think about Adam's sons, Cain and Abel were not made from different stuff. They were just two ways that the same stuff got lived out. And so that line between good and evil runs within each human heart as though it were one and the same heart. And so I'm really grateful that we don't do this alone. We cannot become what we want to become without help from God and without help from others. And as Christians, character formation is not a private matter. In fact, the formation of character is the work of a whole community. That's why, as Christians, we become part of and belong to the church. It's good to be with people who also want to become the same kind of person you want to be, and to know that this is God's work in us. So may you be blessed by God as you seek to live for Him.